What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be going over what I think will be happening in the rest of The Flash as a show. But of course, before we get started, make sure that you guys like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment any other video suggestions for me. So guys, of course, what I'm going to be starting off with is going to be the Armageddon crossover to start off The Flash Season 8, and we do know a decent bit about that. First of all, we know all the returning characters. First, we have Javicia Leslie as Batwoman, Brandon Routh as the Atom, Cress Williams as Black Lightning, Chyler Leigh as Sentinel, Kat McNamara as Mia Queen, Osric Chow as Ryan Choi, Tom Cavanaugh as Eobard Thawne / the Reverse Flash, and Neil McDonough as Damian Dark. So yeah, that is all. Those are, of course, the returning characters for the crossover. And then we also have the villain, who was just revealed to be Despero. We've got some set photos with him and the Flash. You know, we've got our first look at Season 8, which is already pretty cool to see. And then we do know about the second half of Season 8's main villain, sort of, just a little bit. We know it's going to be like a really personal villain towards Barry. So yeah, that definitely means, I'm assuming, that they're going to bring back somebody that Barry and Team Flash have already encountered. But anyways, going back to the Armageddon crossover, here's sort of like what I really want to see. So first of all, with Neil McDonough returning as Damian Dark and Tom Cavanaugh returning as the Reverse Flash, I really don't want to see them be any type of anti-hero, meaning I really don't want to see them team up with like the Flash and the other heroes that are returning. I'd much rather see them work with Despero, or just like if they had to, you know, team up with the heroes, I'd say that it would only be because they are just out for themselves. They just want to survive. They don't want to save anybody else. They just want to save themselves. I think that would definitely make more sense than them actually helping the heroes. So I really hope they don't screw that up. And another thing that I want to see is you know, Ray Palmer sort of pass the torch over to Ryan Choi, and then Ryan Choi maybe becomes the next Atom in this crossover. I think that'd be absolutely amazing, because we really don't know, besides that, what Ryan Choi's role is going to be. Maybe he's going to be like sort of like a Cisco for this crossover. I think that's definitely possible. And another thing I'd really like to see make a return in this crossover is the Hall of Justice. Now, if you guys don't know, recently, actually it wasn't recently, it was a few months ago, in an episode of Legends of Tomorrow Season 6, Citizen Steel, aka Nate Haywood, actually name-dropped specifically the Hall of Justice. So now we know that they're actually calling it the Hall of Justice. Now, they can't actually use the name Justice League, because there's a bunch of copyright issues or whatever with that name. But I really think it's cool that they actually call it the Hall of Justice in the Arrowverse. But yeah, as for Despero as the villain, he looks like a pretty cool villain for the crossover, and I'm actually really excited to see you know, what his master plan is, why he's doing what he's doing. All that stuff I think is going to be pretty interesting going forward. And just, you know, some changes that I would actually make to this crossover. Instead of Alex Danvers, aka Sentinel, returning, I would much rather see Martian Manhunter appear. That would have been so cool to see Martian Manhunter instead of her. And then, you know, instead of Batwoman, I mean, I guess Batwoman can still appear, but I think Luke Fox would have been another great character to have in this crossover, as well as John Diggle's Green Lantern should have made his first appearance. That would have been awesome to see. So yeah, with all that stuff out of the way, that's sort of, you know, how I would like the Armageddon crossover to go. Comment what you guys, how you guys think the Armageddon crossover should go. What do you guys think will happen? All that stuff. But anyways, let's move on to the rest of Season 8. Oh, by the way, guys, just for this video's sake, I'm just gonna say here that The Flash is going to last 10 seasons. Yes, I think The Flash actually will last 10 seasons. But what I think will happen is they'll have, you know, Season 8 with what, like 20 episodes or so. Season 9 with probably around that amount of episodes, but then Season 10, I think they'll sort of pull an Arrow Season 8 and go like 10 episodes. I think that's definitely possible, of course, if there ends up being a Season 10 in the first place. But yeah, just for this video, I'm going to assume that The Flash is going to last 10 seasons. Also, comment how many seasons you guys think the Flash will last. Do you think it's going to end in Season 8, Season 9? Just comment your thoughts on that down below. But anyways, the rest of Season 8, as I said before in this video, we know that the second half of the Flash Season 8, that main villain is supposed to be like a personal villain to Barry. And, you know, and we also got, you know, it's going to be a horrifying villain. It's going to be a super scary villain. And that is definitely making me think it's going to be Red Death. There's obviously been some rumors that Oliver Queen is going to return. I know he was recently in an interview with Michael Rosenbaum, who, if you guys didn't know, played Lex Luthor on Smallville. And, you know, Stephen Amell, he talked about, you know, possibly returning and all that stuff. So I think, you know, maybe if he ended up becoming Red Death somehow. I think that would be a super cool storyline and something that I'd really like to see. But otherwise, some other candidates to become Red Death, of course, you have Ramsey Rosso, who might, get contaminated by the negative Speed Force. Whoever becomes Red Death, first of all, I think the negative Speed Force definitely has to be involved. So maybe, Reverse Flash combines with somebody, and that creates Red Death. I think that's definitely possible. But I think, yeah, it would just be really cool to see Oliver Queen become Red Death, as, basically in the Arrowverse, Oliver is sort of like basically the Arrowverse's Batman. But the thing about that is, how exactly would Oliver Queen return? Now, honestly, I don't know. Maybe like the afterlife, somehow he can be brought back from the afterlife. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. But yeah, it'd be really cool to see that happen on The Flash Season 8. So yeah, with all that being said, the timeline of The Flash Season 8 looks sort of like this. So here's the thing. So first of all, let's assume that The Flash Season 8 is going to last 18, 19, 20 episodes, something like that. So we know that the first 5 episodes, of course, are going to be the Armageddon crossover event. And then I'm going to say that, from maybe like episode 12 or 13 until whenever the season ends, that's going to be like the Red Death or whatever horrifying villain they're talking about for this video. I'm going to assume that it's going to be Red Death. I'm just going to say that here. But what's going to happen in between that from episode 6 until episode, I don't know, 11 or 12 or something along the lines of that. Now, I'm assuming that 3 of those episodes are going to be like the interlude part 2, as obviously we had an interlude part 1 in The Flash Season 7, and as most of us think, the interlude part 1 was absolutely terrible. So I'm really hoping that, they act in this interlude part 2, it's actually kind of interesting. Maybe Chronarch could end up appearing. If you guys aren't aware, in episode 4 of Season 7, Abracadabra actually name-dropped Chronarch. So maybe, Chronarch is going to appear in this interlude part 2 and be the main villain of that storyline. I actually think that would be pretty cool to see. But for the rest of that, we have 3 episodes that, or so I should say, that we don't exactly know what's going to be going on. So at least that's just a prediction. All this is just a theory, guys. Make sure you guys keep that in mind. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what they have planned for Season 8. So yeah, to conclude Season 8, we have the 5-episode crossover event, then 3 episodes of, we don't really know what's going to be going on there. Maybe that's just like them recovering from the crossover event, just sort of maybe facing weekly villains, something along the lines of that could definitely happen. Then I'm going to say that the 3-part interlude part 2 is going to happen. Hopefully someone like Chronarch is the main villain, and, the Flash actually ends up appearing a lot more. And then in the last 6 or 7 episodes of the season is going to be this Red Death storyline, or as I said before, whoever this other villain might end up being. So with that out of the way, let's move on to Season 9. Now, something I'd really like to see return in Season 9 is one main villain, just one main villain. I think that would be absolutely awesome to see. Now in Season 9, I'm really hoping Eddie Thawne returns as Cobalt Blue, unless he, somehow returns in Season 8. That's always a possibility. But I think if he returned in Season 9 as Cobalt Blue, that would be absolutely insane. I think he would be a great main villain. He'd be a really emotional main villain. They could really connect to each other, and that would just make the show a lot better. And I also think it would be really cool if like Reverse Flash was involved here. Maybe if maybe let's say Reverse Flash somehow saved Eddie Thawne from dying. He time traveled and stopped himself from getting erased from existence, so he saved Eddie Thawne. Then maybe he turns Eddie Thawne into a speedster, and then convinces him that Barry is a terrible person, and then all that stuff, and then Eddie Thawne becomes the villain known as Cobalt Blue. I think that'd be an absolutely perfect storyline, and then plus that could lead into Season 10 with Reverse Flash, who I believe will of course be the main villain of the final season. So yeah, I definitely think Reverse Flash should be the main villain of Season 10, but before we go into Season 10, let's keep talking about a little bit about Season 9. Now, I think this is the season where, there's going to be the most Speed Force related stuff. I think that they're going to introduce some new speedsters, maybe Max Mercury, Johnny Quick, maybe even like Inertia if Bart Allen ends up returning. I think an Inertia versus Bart Allen storyline could be pretty cool. I really hope Kid Flash returns this season. If not Season 8, then definitely Season 9 he should end up returning, and maybe even Zoom. I think Kid Flash versus Zoom storyline would be awesome, as obviously Zoom is Kid Flash's arch enemy in the comics, so I think it'd be really cool to see them face each other. And I just think this is going to be one of the better seasons of The Flash, Season 9. At least this is just a theory, guys, of course. But yeah, let's go on to Season 10. Now, in the Flash Season 10, I think Reverse Flash absolutely has to be the main villain, and he absolutely has to be played by Matt Letscher. They have to bring Matt Letscher back to play the Reverse Flash, because Matt Letscher is the real Eobard Thawne. They absolutely have to bring him back, so I think that would be absolutely insanely awesome if we saw him return. And also, one of these episodes in Season 10, if it doesn't happen in Season 9 or Season 8, we have to get a Reverse Flash origin episode. That would be so cool to see, Reverse Flash getting his powers. Maybe we'd even see the future, which is like 150 years from today, when Reverse Flash ends up being born and ends up getting his powers and all that stuff. I just think that would be awesome to see. His obsession with the Flash ends up turning him into the Reverse Flash. Obviously the comic book storyline, if you guys have read that would be so cool to see on the show. And then finally, in the finale of The Flash, now here's a theory that I've had for a while, guys. I think that the 2024 newspaper article about Barry disappearing in a crisis, I believe it actually still exists. Now, a lot of you guys are being like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Well, first of all, when the 2024 newspaper article turned to 2019 for Crisis on Infinite Earths, the story completely changed. So I think the Reverse Flash returning and that article coming true, I think could still happen in 2024 or 2023, whenever the Flash Season 10 might end up being. So yeah, Barry and Reverse Flash will probably go back to the night Barry's mother died. And another theory here, because of Crisis on Infinite Earths, there are no longer like 5 different Reverse Flashes and 4 different Flashes at that night. It's just going to be one Flash and one Reverse Flash, and things will play out just like we saw them happen in Season 1. I think that would be awesome to see. And that sparks a couple more theories for me. What if we're currently living, well, what if the Flash is currently living in the original timeline? Like, what if this is the original timeline Flash? Maybe ever since Crisis on Infinite Earths, which ended in 2020, and if you guys don't know, in the original timeline, Barry got his speed in the year 2020. So what if we were actually living in the original timeline? I think that would be absolutely awesome. I mean, of course, the Flash, he's still at his speed for years, but I think, if they could somehow find a way to say that they were still in the original timeline, I think that would be pretty cool to see. So yeah, then after Barry and Reverse Flash go back to that night, Reverse Flash kills Barry's mother. Barry gets his younger self out of there. We know the Reverse Flash will end up getting stuck, and then the events of Season 1 will play out, and that would create the alternate timeline that we know, which started the Flash Season 1. But then after that, what happens to Barry? Do you think he disappears? Do you think he goes back to the future and is erased from existence? We really don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be awesome to find out what happens at the end of the show. But anyways, I'd say that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment your thoughts on this video down below, as well as your thoughts, on all this stuff. What do you guys think will happen in the rest of The Flash as a show? And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.